What's up, folks at home? Hey, it's always an exciting time of year. Early summer, it's when the 2026 models are rolling in, the new models, the Wheaties Marine. And this year, we've got some really cool new boats, and I can't think of anyone to start out with that is probably gonna be as good a seller as the all-new creation of Glass out of Kilgore, Texas. Folks, this is the brand new 2026 Skeeter ZXE series. This is a 21-footer. I want you to just take a second and look at the lines on this boat. We got a little different top cap design. We've got a couple subtle differences to the bottom. We're not going to get into any performance changes in this video because I have not run one of these yet, but I will soon get on the water, run one, tell you folks the difference. But let's look at some really cool changes that Skeeter's done to the boat. So if we go to the front, the first thing that we're gonna notice is that the trolling motor is mounted much different. Now this is a 52-inch shaft trolling motor on this 21-footer, but we can see that the trolling motor, instead of being mounted the way Skeeter and most boat manufacturers have done it for years, more at an angle here, we've actually taken the trolling motor and mounted it more straight in line with the deck. The reason Skeeter is doing this is twofold, okay? This is going to give you better clearance with your cover when you're docking, when you're going through a lock or anything like that. We don't have that big trolling motor head hanging over here. The other thing that it does is if we look at the rod straps, and this is not as big a concern on the ZXE21, but on our 20-foot model, the rod butts, okay, on the 20-foot model had a tendency to get up here into the bounce buster area, but the way this is mounted, when we have our rod butts, even on a 7.6 flipping stick, it's not gonna get up and get into the mounting. So trolling motor mounting surface is definitely different for 2026. But what we've also done here is we've got an all-new bow mounting system from Skeeter this year. Most people nowadays are running 2 graphs. We ordered this boat with 2 graphs just to illustrate Skeeter's factory mounting system. So we can see we've got a large area here that we can mount graphs without needing an aftermarket base or an aftermarket mount. We have a pretty good system right off the bat. What I really like what Skeeter's done for this year is they actually have an access panel here. So if we look, we can open this access panel up and we have access while we're rigging our graphs, or if we needed to access anything on the water. Again, this is just Skeeter's factory mounting system. We, of course, here at Wheaties Marine can offer custom rigging if you'd like to upgrade these to some BBT gimbals. But what Skeeter's done here is pretty nice. This is the standard Explorer 9 that comes on the boat, and we added an additional Explorer 12. We also have an Explorer 12 come standard on the console. New for 2026, we have the trim switches built into the trim piece up here. This keeps the bow nice and clean and gives us an easy push button with our toe to trim and raise and lower our motor. The front deck is still ginormous, but we'll notice that one of the biggest differences is we see this angled rod locker lid. Now I can open this up and we'll notice too, news, we have slam latches, okay, for 2026. But what Skeeter did here was they angled this rod locker lid so that when you have a bunch of rods and they're strapped down, the rod locker lid used to have a tendency to take your rods and really push them and throw them out this way. With this, when we open the rod locker lid, okay, you're gonna notice it's gonna give us a little bit of an angled place, so in theory, our rods are not gonna get kicked over nearly as bad. As I have this lid open, one thing that you'll also notice is Skeeter has eliminated the aluminum deck grid system for 2026. We now have, on the front deck anyway, we have more of what a lot of other manufacturers have used for years, which is an actual fiberglass deck. The purpose of this is we're hoping to solve some water intrusion issues that people have complained about on some of the previous models. We think it's a nice upgrade, and we're interested to see what the consumers think when these boats start getting out on the water. So the cockpit, I think Skeeter has listened to some cues we've taken and really improved on their cockpit. This step is a lot larger, it's a lot wider, and we've got a lot better landing platform down here. I feel the cockpit is more open for 2026, and that's one thing that we asked for. I always felt the floor was a little crowded. There used to be some cup holders here in front of the cooler. Those were always kind of trip hazards to me, and I didn't like them. I really think Skeeter's done a good job of cleaning the cockpit up. I really enjoy these steps. This makes it great, okay, for maybe older folks or anyone that has some instability, that it's easy to get up. And for those of us that are moving around quickly in a boat, it's easy to move from the back deck quickly up to the front deck if we have to get the net or we're moving to the back for any reason. The front deck on a Skeeter is obviously an aircraft carrier. I don't have to go into the detail. I've made a million videos about how wide the Skeeter deck is. We will go ahead and measure this deck, and here are your measurements for 2026 on the ZXE21. You can look right here. We've got plenty of deck to work with, but here's your actual measurements. One thing I'm a little disappointed in, we would have thought Skeeter would have done something. I feel like they could have made this extra storage. They could have made it an extra cooler. And if I was a betting man, I could see that on an FXE model. Before anyone jumps the gun and says, what are you talking about, FXE? I do not know that there's an FXE coming out. I can just only speculate that the ZXR, FXR, there's usually a pattern that follows. We already have 2026 orders in, and there's no FXE available, so I don't think we're gonna see an FXE for 2026, unless it's a mid-model year change, which typically Skeeter does not do. But back to this, I love what Skeeter's done, but if anyone down there is listening, you need to open this up and make this storage, a cooler, trash, something. We do have a new glove box for 2026. I think this is something we've all asked for. Skeeter's glove box tended to be a bottomless pit. Now we can get in here, we can look. We've got nice, easy access to it. Great job here. And we've got a little bit of a reboot on the rod ramps. I like these rod ramps. We've got 1, 2, 3, technically 4 tiers of rod ramps. I think that's gonna help get the co-angler area cleaned up and a little bit nicer. Now, one of the biggest changes for 2026 is we have slam latches now. I think this is phenomenal. And if we look in here, my favorite part of a Skeeter boat is we've got this day box, and we have double biggie triple size the day box. This day box is now ginormous. I can put plastics here, rows of tools. It's the day box that I've always talked about. It's one of the greatest organizational tools, the Skeeter. Now it's been increased and probably 50% a bit larger than the size before. Here we have access to our 5-port box. We have access to rigging, and we still have a little additional storage. We can keep some items in there, possibly a good place to keep some tools and things that you're not necessarily getting to all the time. Skeeter puts a good gas shock on this lid, and that's something I wish some of the other manufacturers would take heed and do. Is it's nice to have this day box and have a gas shock. We talked about the angled lids up here and kind of went into detail on that, but I will show you guys the port rod locker. Skeeter has a ginormous port rod locker. I think this is the best rod locker in the industry. It's wide. I can access all my rods. I can lay rods on the bottom and then lay them in 2 tiers. I know on the previous model, FXR, ZXR, I had up to 40 rods in there. I assume this is gonna be the same or even better. Not that I recommend putting 40 rods in a rod locker, but on trips and stuff I've had to, and it does work out. Great place here, and again, this is a good illustration. Skeeter has gone to this all fiberglass deck with slam latches. We hope this is going to improve the water tightness and durability. The center compartment, I think, is really exciting and worth looking at too. The center compartment for 2026, you know, we have, I feel they've largened the volume of this quite a bit. Now, I don't know how much, but I can tell you anecdotally, from a guy that runs a Skeeter all the time, I've got more room on the side because they've eliminated the jack stands in here. We definitely have more room up in front here. So if there was any complaint I ever had, is I always wished that my Skeeter had a little more storage room compared to some other brands out there. And I think Skeeter has listened to us and brought an unbelievable upgrade to the standard storage system. You know, there's only so many ways to reinvent the wheel, folks, and I think Skeeter has done a great job of adding some things to this boat. Now, I'm not done. The seating remains about the same for 2026, which I'm glad it does. Skeeter's got the best seats in the industry. They're the most comfortable. Every other boat manufacturer needs to copy Skeeter seats because to me, they're the best out there. We've got this Lone 12 Explorer here at the console. Of course, we as Marine, we offer custom rigging. Anything that you see on this boat that you would like to change or upgrade, we can do. But the standard Skeeter mount, pretty nice. We've got some new gauge clusters. We've got our dash panels. The ignition is different for 2026. Instead of having an ignition up here, we've got our Yamaha key switch down here. And we've got an open-close valve for the live wells. The live wells look to be the same for 2026. Of course, we've got a new lid system. We've got the slam latches on here. The biggest thing that I see that's different is the back compartment looks, to me, quite a bit larger than our previous back compartment. So I'm not sure what these, in the corner here, we have these kind of four, I don't know what you would call them right there. I don't get that. I don't know why they wouldn't have just made that all the way open, but I'm sure it has something to do with the internals. This is a good illustration. Of course, Skeeter has a vent system. That blower system is something that is standard on the ZXR that is usually an option on higher end boats. If you live anywhere that has high humidity or just in general, you know, you fish in the rain and you get a little moisture in your boat, that fan system is phenomenal for keeping the compartments, getting any kind of moisture or mildew out of the compartments. So pretty nice that Skeeter offers that on a boat that's relatively offered at a competitive price point. So the rear compartments are pretty new. You can see the splash wells slightly different for 2026. I don't know if there's any benefit off this besides it looks a little cooler, it looks a little nicer. I think we have a little larger lids back here, which is always nice to have better access to the rear compartments. The battery compartment on the Skeeter is cavernous. There's plenty of room for rigging, plenty of room to run 5 batteries. Of course, we've got our reliable, dependable Yamaha show. Can't speak highly enough about that motor. It's just absolutely one of the best motors in the industry. So folks, we'd love to hear in the comments below what you think of the new ZXE Skeeter. I think what Skeeter's done is they've taken a proven winner, a boat that quite honestly I think is one of the best boats in the price point that it's at. We've added some nice upgrades without reinventing the wheel. The hull on the ZXE was really good, or ZXR was really good. So we don't want to reinvent that much. I have heard some reports of some improved handling characteristics in the ZXE, but that's a rumor for now. I want to get out and drive them and I can report back to you guys a little bit more. What I see again is a well thought out revision of a popular boat at a popular price point. Weedas Marine is stocking these very deep. We're going to have one of every color available, and we'll have those in stock, or you can custom order. Very important, if you're watching this video, this is early July 2026, okay? Make sure that if you do not see the color scheme you want, you contact us at sales@weedasmarine.com or call us at 859-647-BOAT. We probably have the boat that you want on order. As always, Weedas Marine strives to be a leader in the bass boat sales industry. We love trade-ins, we offer aggressive financing, and if you want your rigging done, custom rigging done to the same level that top-level pros do, come see us at Weedas Marine, give us a shout. We'll talk to you soon. Tell us what you think of the new Skeeter ZXE in the comments below.